We start with Rangers. It's been some journey for the club in the Europa League this season, but their first European final in 14 years ended in heartbreak as they lost on penalties to Eintracht Frankfurt in Seville. Joe Rebo's goal had fans dreaming of European glory, but a Frankfurt equaliser and a goalless extra time period sent the game to penalties, with substitute Aaron Ramsey missing the decisive kick.
Everyone is hurt, disappointed. And you can sense that in the locker room. I think it's also normal so short after the game. You know, Aaron, of course, was disappointed, but you know, he took responsibility to take the penalty, and well, you can make it or you can miss it. And unfortunately for us, he didn't make it.
Right, before we get to Damien and David James, we have a former Rangers player, Stephen Naismith, with us now. Hi there, Stephen. Oh, thanks for joining me this morning. How are you reflecting on the defeat?
I think it was really tough to take. I think you can see that from the picture straight after the game, and it was in the toughest way possible. I think as the game went on, at the start, Rangers looked nervy and on edge, but the further the game went, they get the goal, and even after that in extra time, I think everybody seen it would have thought Rangers were probably the most likely to win it. Obviously the big chance at the end, and maybe if Roof was on the park slightly earlier, then maybe caused more problems. But it to end the way it did with one penalty miss is as cruel as it comes.
On that, yeah, Kemar Roof and Aaron Ramsey brought on after 117 minutes. What did you make of the timing of the substitutions? What would you have done differently?
I think the timing of them was for them to come on for a penalty shootout. But in these extreme, intense moments in cup finals, I think if you change it too early, you can either go on and win it, or the players that aren't up to speed and it ends up costing you. So I think it was one of them moments that you don't want to gamble too early. And if it goes to penalties like it did, you're still in the tie. You've still got a great chance of lifting the trophy. But all through the penalty shootout, every penalty except one was of real high quality, and that's the small margins that cost you.
I mean, as a player, is it difficult to come off the bench at a time you know you're going pretty much straight into a penalty shootout?
I think you've seen it both ways. Players have come on, took a penalty straight from the off and scored, and then in other occasions, I think even Mark Noble in the Premier League comes on and misses against Man United. So it can work both ways. One thing is that these guys that have come on are experienced. They understand the surroundings they're in. For Ramsey personally, he's been in many finals before, so it's hard luck. But at the top end in European finals, the loss and what goes with it's much greater than a normal league game.
I guess it's about sitting back and trying to pick some positives out of this. One of the real bright sparks in the performance of the team performance was an individual performance, wasn't it, of Calvin Bassey? How bright a future does he have?
Yeah, he's got a big future. I think he's not only in the European run, but in the SPL. He's came and he's took his time to get his chance, came into the team at left back, but he's shown his versatility and he's probably his maturity beyond his age in terms of playing in a number of different positions, which I think at the moment, playing centre half, he looks very comfortable. He's calm on the ball, and his power and his pace are something that's very noticeable. And he's happy to defend 1v1, which in modern day that needs to happen. And he's shown all the way through a European campaign and pushing Celtic for the league that he can do it week in, week out. So he's definitely got a bright future.
How on earth do they as a team try and pick themselves up, because they've got a huge game at the weekend? Their only chance of I guess, winning silverware with the cup final. I mean, you were part of the Rangers squad that lost in 2008. You were injured, but how hard was that?
Yeah, it's always tough. I think you've got that gradual build-up towards the final and what could be. So for a week, 10 days before, that build-up's happening, the tension's building and the excitement's building within you. and then in the space of 120 minutes, it's taken away, and you've got to regroup. I think you've seen from the interviews after the game that the players and the staff are very low. But at a club like Rangers, the demand's there. You're challenging on all fronts most seasons, and you've got to be able to get up for the next task. But for us at Hearts, we've had a very good season. Finished the league strongly in third place, and we're going for silverware as well. So we've got to use everything we can from the disappointment for Rangers that we can take that into Saturday's game.
Yeah, just we'll get to that in just a moment. I just want to try and focus on, I guess, what Rangers have to do after this defeat in terms of picking themselves up, not for this game, but not let this, I guess, creep into next season and really understand the magnitude of the achievement, considering 10 years ago they were in the fourth tier of Scottish football. It is still a huge achievement despite the defeat, isn't it?
It's without a shadow of a doubt. I think not only getting to the final, but the way they done it, who they played and who they beat. And they didn't. In our run in 2008, there was a lot of times we spent without the ball and we had a good defensive shape, and we worked from that and took games to penalties and maybe scored the own goal. Throughout the rounds, Rangers have attacked and attacked and attacked, and that's where they've got their success. They've scored many goals. They've been a threat. There's been times in the knockout stages they've had to go for a winner, and they've rose to the challenge. So I think the bigger achievement of getting to a European final is a big one. But knowing the club and knowing everybody surrounding it, they want to go beyond that now. I think that it's pushing now. Scottish football in general, the national team as well, is in a good place, and the teams in Europe need to try and progress as much as they can. And the next stage has got to be getting into the Champions League, and they've got the opportunity with the qualifiers next season to do that.
Yeah, actually, what has this done for the view of Scottish football now as well, with Celtic going to be playing in Champions League next season, of course, and looking at what Rangers has achieved as a whole for Scottish clubs?
Yeah, it's been a while since Scotland had that first place, getting straight into the group stages in the Champions League, which is great for Scottish football. It'd be even better if we can get two teams in that, because in the days that I was at Rangers, we had Rangers and Celtic in the Champions League at the same time, and again, it builds a profile. Scottish football in general is in a great place. We've got a lot of teams doing well. Over the years, you've seen Brendan Rodgers, Steven Gerrard coming and big name players as well. So it's on the up, and it's again about progressing that to the next level. Yeah,
right. As we've touched on a few times, it is Hearts for Rangers in the Cup final this weekend. Of course, you're currently working with Hearts right now. Are you a little bit pleased to see them have to go through extra time and penalties? Will that give you the edge this weekend?
I'm not sure whether it'll give you the edge, but I think in any game, the better thing for us as the game goes longer, the players get fatigued, and obviously in the heat and everything else, it would have taken a lot out of the players. As you've seen it, boys were going down with cramp and a couple had to come off. So preparation-wise for Rangers, that's not ideal. For us, we've had a good build-up. The manager and the staff and the players have been comfortable with knowing they're in the cup final. Over the past 3 or 4 years, Hearts have been in 4 or 5 semi-finals and reached 2 cup finals. So we've just fell short on the occasion. So hopefully this time we can go one further. I think this squad of players has got a bit more than the previous two that got in the cup finals. So we definitely carry a threat going forward, and we've had a couple of injured players coming back into the group as well, which has also strengthened the squad.
Yeah, well, we'll enjoy that at the weekend. But whilst you're here, of course, we've got to ask about Everton as well. Oh, how worrying is it to see the position they're in? Do you see them staying up?
I do see them staying up. I think from the moment they get beat from Burnley was a real low point, because that was a chance to push on and not be involved right to the death. The last month, 6 weeks has been really intense with some fantastic results, and also backing from the fans that you see. Even the day before games, leaving the training ground, they've got the full support of the team. But it's been really intense, and in games you maybe expect them to win. You've not picked the points up. In other games, you've picked the points up. So I think coming down to tonight's game, it's an opportunity to just get over that final hurdle, get safe, and just get the end of the season and hopefully regroup and not be back in this situation, because I think a club of Everton's size and backing shouldn't be at that side of the table. But at this short term, we have got to go out and win this game tonight, which then makes the last game of the season something that you can relax about and just try and send the fans off with a couple of good performances.
Well, thank you very much indeed for speaking with us. Enjoy the last couple of days of preparation ahead of that cup final at the weekend.
Thank you.
Right, for a bit more reaction from Seville, we can cross to our reporter Keith Downie now. Keith, what is the mood like this morning?
Yeah, it's the morning after the night before here in Seville. Heartbreak for Rangers last night, losing out 5-4 on penalties to Eintracht Frankfurt and just falling at the final hurdle in terms of potentially collecting the Europa League trophy. I'm joined by Derek Johnstone, Rangers legend. Derek, difficult to watch last night. What's your overriding feeling this morning?
I'm gutted this morning, to be perfectly honest. You know, if you're beaten 3-0, you're outplayed by the opposition, then you put your hands up and say, you know, couldn't ask for any more. But at the end of the day, I thought Rangers had it in their laps there. At one each, I think they had a couple of chances. So did they, to be honest. But it's just such a bad end. And I know penalty kicks is a lottery. Always has been. And, you know, somebody's got to lose it. But it was just the way we played. We didn't have enough players on the night, I felt, that played to their best ability. You know, when you're looking for the quality players on the side, you're looking for them to lead and go forward and get everybody going. And, you know, sadly, you know, James Tavernier probably had his worst game in a Rangers top, and he's been absolutely brilliant, but on the day that you need him, it didn't happen. Ryan Kent was hardly seen. You know, we didn't really have anything up front. There wasn't an awful lot of punch up front, you know, to get us goals. But when we got the first goal, I felt confident that we could hold out, actually, because we were defending quite well. But as the game went on, they get more and more of the ball, you know, and caused problems. I think the back four really struggled at times, all except, I have to say, Calvin Bassey, who I thought was the man of the match. I thought the youngster was outstanding. Ran his heart out the whole game and tackled and did everything that a centre-half should do. So I can't put any fault at him, but had we played well and got beat, as I say, then fine, but we didn't play well enough. And that was on the night. They were there to be beaten, but we couldn't do it.
Is that perhaps a pressure thing then, Derek? Players playing well all season, all tournament long, and then it comes to the big occasion, it comes to the final, 100,000 Rangers fans here, and as you say, they don't play well.
But it could be, but that's when you sign for clubs like Rangers. You know, you're expected to win things. There's pressure on you every week, whether it's Wraith Rovers or whether it's any other big side. But you've just got to handle it. It's as simple as that. I just think on the night, it got to maybe a few players, you're right, plus the fact that the weather was horrendous. I mean, you were talking about it was nearly 90 degrees playing that at 9 o'clock at night. I mean, you could see the players going down every 5-10 minutes, whether with cramp or whatever. It was a hard shout for the players, and there'll be nobody more gutted than the players themselves, because they know that when they look in the mirror, they'll say, I should have done a lot better tonight, you know, a few of these players, but they didn't do it. It's history now, and I mean, we've had it for 50 years, the Barcelona Bears since 72.
Were you quite happy to hand over the mantle?
Well, we wanted to do that. We've had it that time. Somebody new coming in, all these players, and they would have been legends. It doesn't matter what's happened in their lives. If they were playing in that game last night and won, the Rangers fans would have adored them for the next 50 years. But, you know, it's not to be. And you're saying to yourself, they're feeling sorry with yourself. Well, you can't do that because they're a massive game at the weekend. You know, what was going to be a marvellous week for Rangers? Well, the first part of it hasn't worked out. The second part has to work out.
You look at that match now, the players flying home later today, they're only going to have tomorrow, Friday, to prepare for that. What would they do in terms of preparation? And two, how did they lift themselves after that ending last night? Well,
it is a cup final. You know, to answer your last question first there, it's a cup final, a chance to win something. So if that doesn't get you going, then nothing will. You know, they're a side that they're very, very confident at times. I don't know if they've lost a wee bit of confidence. The heat would take an awful lot out of them as well. I think as far as preparation is concerned for the weekend, you can't do an awful lot, the manager, because these players are drained, absolutely drained. I think they trained this morning. I don't think they would have done anything. It would have been a walk and a talk rather than running, because they've done enough of that last night. Whether their legs will be strong enough for Saturday, I thought they might have got a bit of help from the authorities. Maybe got the game postponed for another 24 hours to give them a chance, but no, it's not going to happen. So they're just going to have to buckle down and look forward to a cup final, which is a great thing. The last game of the season, go out there with a win, people will go away happy, but if you don't win it, then it could be disaster for Rangers.
Yeah, Derek, it'll be very interesting to see how Rangers cope with that on Saturday against Hearts in the Scottish Cup final, less than 72 hours after playing last night. Great to hear from you. Derek Johnston's been out here all week with Rangers, hoping that Rangers secured that Europa League trophy, having lifted the European trophy, was one of the last men to do so himself back in 1972, but it wasn't to be last night.